Hey, good evening, everybody. Hello, and welcome to Overland Radio and the All Over Overland Show, the show that makes you drink and rethink your decisions on Tuesday nights, right? I'm Lee, but your main host tonight is going to be Mr. Michael Hayden. And in tonight's episode, we're going to have Independence Overland with Tyler. We're going to discuss Tyler's adventures, the places that he's been, places that have impacted him the most, because he's seen, if you go look at his website and Instagram, he's been to some beautiful places. We're going to talk about his rig. He does drive a Toyota, folks, and favorite gear a little bit more. So we'll have a good time with that. And along the way, we're going to drink some adult beverages and, yeah, probably even swear a little bit, to be honest. So, anyway, be sure to go and follow Overland Radio on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. We'd really appreciate that. And tonight's show is brought to you by Overland Attic, Midland USA, and Rugged Bound Supply. We're extremely grateful to those sponsors that help us bring this content to you, and you get to see Michael's pretty face once in a while. So anyway, let's bring Michael in, and we'll chit chat for a bit, and then we'll bring our special guest tonight.
Man, you seem a little preoccupied.
I am.
Just a little.
I know.
I know you've got some stuff to do. So when we get onto the interview part, you're going to duck out for a little bit, but duck out. See, duck.
Get it?
I tied that in together. Anyway,
beverages.
so dude, your beard's all short.
I know, and then the hair's starting to grow long now.
Yeah, now you're a hippie. So what was the deal with the beard?
Oh, I
thought
don't
we were
know.
going Grizzly Adams or Jeremiah Johnson or something.
I'll be honest with you. It's kind of embarrassing to say this, but I was trimming my beard. And I thought the problem is I could see it out of my peripheral vision. You know what I'm saying? It was so bushy on the sides. So I thought, well, I'll trim it up. So I trimmed it a little bit, and I'm like, I still can kind of get a little, glimpse of it. So I changed the guard, and I hit that bitch, and it went like short. And I was like, oh shoot, man, that was the wrong one. I think I went a little too short.
And so it looked. That's what happened to me, man.
Yeah, it just looked funny. So I was like, you know what? Let's go back to square one. I grew it out one time. We can grow it out again. So I ended up just, trimming it down.
Gotcha.
And that's it, man.
So
How you been?
Have you put an order in for the Gladiator or the Transit yet?
Neither.
Dude.
I know. I struggle with this because, and you know this, I say it every week, I struggle with it because I know what I really want to do, but it's not that easy, for one. And two, you talk about availability and all that. Well, now the 23 Sprinters are coming out and they're all-wheel drive, and I don't want a freaking four-banger all-wheel drive. So I want a V6 diesel that I can delete and tune and try to rip the drivetrain out from underneath it. But, man, we're just got to wait. I think what I'm going to end up doing is I'm either going to take it to Chad or Ryan, the Alucab, and just put it on consignment. So any of you folks out there want an Alucab that'll fit a
50% off this week.
Shut up. You're so full of crap.
I'm just trying to get it sold for you, man. Salesman. That's what I do.
I hear you. But yes, I have considered a Gladiator, and I know that I just absolutely dog the piss out of Jeep people, and I do it strictly out of fun. But I'm gonna say this: the Gladiator it checks off almost all the boxes for what I want in a truck. It's got the diesel, solid front axle. You can put the Alucab on it, or you could put something else on it if you wanted to. It's a proven rig, but there's other options. And I know it sounds crazy, but I'm hung up on the diesel. That's just my jam.
You have to have diesel. Yep.
It's my jam.
Nope, I get it. Well, hey, we're going to have a fun show tonight. I've been watching these videos for a while now, and I've got to tell you, the storytelling, the video just creation, everything that this guy's doing is just on point. I've enjoyed all of it. He does a little bit of mushroom hunting and salamander finding and all kinds of stuff, and he drives a Toyota, but at least it's blue, my favorite color. So let's bring on Tyler with Independence Overland. What's going
Hey
on,
guys.
man?
Hey, how's it going?
It's going well. How are you doing?
Oh, just so good.
Awesome. Well, we're super happy to have you on. I've been following your videos for the last few months, and I've been telling Lee about them because we're all about people that tell a story,
Right.
whenever they're doing their videos, and your storytelling is on point. Your voice is perfect.
Really? Thank you. That's good to
Yeah,
hear.
like it's like I feel like I'm watching a real TV show, like
Oh, okay.
narrated documentary kind of thing. And yeah, I've been really been enjoying it.
That's quite a compliment. I appreciate that.
Now, how long have you been doing the videos? I look back and it looks like 4 years ago is about when you started.
Yeah, 4 years ago. So I actually I've been doing this for a long time, but it's mostly been, since high school. I've recorded everything. I've had so many different hobbies, and I've always done video, but I've never shared the video.
Mm-hmm.
And then I put one hobby aside several years ago, and I had time for something else. And so I've always messed with cameras. And so I was just like, all right, I want to get more involved in the overlanding thing. And eventually I would really like to make my way to where that's what I do. And so I was just like, all right, well, I finally my biggest hurdle was being in front of a camera rather than just behind one.
Oh,
And
yeah,
then-
because your first few videos are like you're not talking
Nope.
and you're just showing like the truck driving through stuff. And
I still feel like such a narcissist whenever I'm talking to my camera. I have such a problem with that. It's just, I know it's normal. And I see all these young kids now, and all of them just dance in front of their phones and stuff. It's no big deal. But for me, I'm just like, I don't know. It just feels weird. I've gotten used to it. I'm a little bit better at it. The Overland Expos, all these interviews I do has definitely got me more used to being in front of people and just talking. So it's been good for me. But anyway, so yeah, that's pretty much how I got into the video and just decided to be like, okay, I'm going to take this serious now because I like to take things as serious as I possibly can. And so here we are.
well, that makes sense because even from your first few videos where it was just like, basically you're not talking, there's music playing, and it's the rigs going through, trails and at campsites and stuff like that. But your video quality was good. So it obviously looked like you have had some experience doing some videos. And I was going to ask if you've had any kind of training, taken any classes on video editing or anything, or is it just something you learned on your own?
Yeah, so I actually learned Premiere Pro in high school. That would have been 2004 because we had a drama class where the teacher was more interested in making video than she was like plays.
Oh,
and
yeah.
so we convinced her, me and my best friend at the time, we convinced her to buy this computer and then buy the software. And so we'd record the stuff and we'd edit all year. That we never had to act, we never had to do anything.
Awesome.
And so it just worked that way. And then, like I said, I did video through the years. I always edited, and then so I just kind of always had a place for that. I always enjoyed Hollywood films when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And so now it's learning the camera stuff. And my wife is a professional photographer. She is professionally trained. So whenever I'm exposing something, she'll be like, no. You're not doing that right. And she doesn't quite understand the frame rates and the 180 rule and stuff like that. But there's certain things with photo that definitely comes over in the composition. And so she helps me a lot with that because I'm decent with a camera, but she's just like, oh no, get a little lower, do a little bit of this, a little bit of that.
Yeah,
So.
see, my background is professional photography. That's
Oh, really?
what I've done. My dad's a professional, and I just kind of followed in his footsteps. I've gone into sales and done different things. I'm a driver now, but so I've done many different things. But I was doing photography when it was film.
Cool. That's awesome.
So like you'd go photograph a wedding and not know that you have images until you got 2 weeks later.
Yeah, that's incredible.
So yeah, that part of it I understand. But like you were saying, the film rate, the film speeds, all the different things was a struggle and learning curve for me. So that's a little bit about your getting into the video side. How long have you been into the off-road stuff? Has that been something you've always done?
Yeah. So when I was a kid, my dad actually he had an FJ40. And so he bought this thing and then he went through and made it basically theft proof. And we lived in Texas at the time. And so he used to take us down like South Padre and we'd go fish for sharks and stuff. And then I've got this one memory I've talked about on my channel before where my dad took us into the back property of this house we were renting at the time. And there was it was like a puddle filled with bullfrogs. Cause as we talked about previously, I was obsessed with small animals. So he took us in the back of this Land Cruiser and he shines a spotlight at night and it was just thousands of eyes light up.
Yeah.
And so I have those kind of memories ingrained in me. And then the outdoors, it's just, we never had much money. So we spent all of our time outdoors. My dad was always working in the summer months. We always were living in a rural environment. So I'd go to the river, do that kind of thing. So as I got older, it just became like, oh, this is how I get to those places now. And so, and the FJ, of course, when I first saw him, I was like, that looks like Dad's old truck. And so it just kind of became that. And,
so is that what got you into the FJ Cruiser, was just the fact that your dad had a FJ40?
Yeah. And at the time, that was in 2008. There, it had only been out for a year and nobody liked him. It was like, and I lived in Missouri at the time. And in Missouri, there's a lot of, they like jacked up Chevy trucks or Dodges and stuff. And there's just like all these guys that worked at a John Deere facility were just like, what are you doing with that thing? It's like this glorified. And then as soon as I started putting bigger tires on and stuff at the time, there's like, okay, it's starting to look a little bit cooler now.
See, and that's funny. I've always, once they first came out, I loved them.
Yeah.
I thought, now it's different looking.
Right.
It looks like a turtle. I always thought it looked kind of like a turtle. So
it moves like a turtle.
Yeah. Well, that's Toyota for you.
Yeah. Yep. That's true.
But I've always liked the look. Now, the one thing that I didn't like about it, because I drove a few before I got my Jeep Liberty, was man, the blind spots are horrible.
Yep, they sure are. And that's what a lot of people complained about in the early days. But I guess I'm just not sensitive to that kind of stuff because I'm just like, whatever. I don't know. I never really noticed it too much. I know that it's there, but I ended up just blocking all the windows off with gear and stuff anyway. So it really doesn't affect me anymore. But I do understand that because I had recently bought another one a couple years back and I was trying to rent it out. And so I built that one a little bit different. It didn't have as many blockages, but I just turned around to actually use the windows and I'm like, oh yeah, they're not there. There's nothing for me.
I had to, so I got an awning, a 270 awning from Rugged Bound, the big country 4x4 ostrich wing. Just got it. Love it. But I had to move all my gear pods because I have a Nissan pickup truck with a light and a rack over to the passenger side. And it freaked me out. I always thought someone was riding me right in my blind spot because I wasn't used to it yet. And I'm starting to get more used to it. But yeah, there was always just something right there in my blind spot. And I was like, you jerk. Oh yeah, that's my stuff.
Yeah, I just took my rear view mirror out even. Well, I mean, not just took. I've had it out for years just because I'm like, that doesn't do anything anyway.
Did you put a camera back there or anything?
Yeah, I've got a camera like basically mounted on a magnetic hitch. So if I do tow something, I can take that out real quick and then have my tow hitch back, but it's also protected in that little space.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of a simple installation.
Dude, I love my backup camera.
Yeah.
Love it.
I don't know what I'm going to do when I get a new vehicle eventually. Having modern features is going to be so insane. What year's your Nissan?
16.
Okay. So you're even newer than I am. But those trucks were essentially the same truck from like 2004, was it?
Yeah, but the body and the drive train, but they had like other little upgrades,
okay,
along the way. But yeah, it's basically the same, mostly the same truck, until 20 when they put the new engine in it. I
love that. I know a lot of people don't like that kind of thing, but I like it when a vehicle, an engine, the body itself runs for a long time because all of the kinks are worked out.
Well, that was what I loved about Jeep for so long. They had the same straight six.
Right.
And like the Cherokee, it was the same vehicle for over 20 years. So parts were easy to find, super easy to replace. And now they change every few years. And I think they have to just in the consumer market that we're in now. But that brings us up to something interesting. You are looking to get a new rig.
Yes, sir. Yep. I have 3 deposits down.
Fully decided what you're going to do yet? Because you kind of go, you'll say, I'm doing this. And then the next week it's like, I'm not doing that.
Yeah. And I am very much like that. So I'd seen the Grenadier at the recent Overland Expo and I fell in love with that thing. But the pricing has still not been released. I have a few issues with some of the other things that are going on with it. Like people notoriously worldwide are having a lot of issues contacting the basically anybody about it. They have questions for it. They have down payments on it. They're a month away from getting their vehicle and they can't get a hold of anybody. So I know it's a vehicle that's designed to be fixed by the end user. But if you can't even get a hold of somebody in the first place, and I know that it will improve, but I don't know that I'm the type of person that can afford to have a vehicle that's risky, especially since the pricing recently went up by 10%.
I've heard anywhere from mid 60s to 90s.
Yeah. And so with the import fees in the UK, it went up 10%, I think 2.5 months ago, right after I put that video up. There were people reporting on the Facebook groups that, oh, this has gone up. So for us, we're going to have different import fees. So this thing for the Trailmaster, the reason I would buy it would be for the locking differentials and stuff from the factory. And that might be all the way up to 80, 85 at this point, but we don't really know. But obviously Toyota, I'm very much, I have a lot of confidence in the Toyota, and the truck having the Alucab canopy camper is definitely the direction I'm going in. And so that's very attractive to me, just because like right now it's 20 degrees outside and we have such long winters. I would very much like to have that extra warm space at night whenever it comes time for it. So I don't know, we'll see what happens, but the Grenadier's pricing's kind of hold me back. Either way, I'm getting a new vehicle that's a new generation, so it's risky. So I don't know.
You're gonna get new generation, you're not gonna get the last model Tacoma?
Yeah, so I'd put a video up on that. And on the trip, I decided I was going to get a 3rd gen, and I was going to get it pretty soon. Well, on that trip, my microphone jack on my camera stopped working. That was a $600 repair. And so while it was happening, I was down without a camera for like 3 weeks, and I'm trying to, get videos out consistently. So I was just like, okay, I'm going to put the truck off and I'm going to buy the camera, because that's for me, that's the most important thing.
Yeah.
And so anyway, I ended up buying more of like a cinema camera from Sony. And so I got my audio jack fixed, and I still need to sell that thing. But anyway, so it set me back like $3,500. So I was just like, all right, we're going to put the truck away for a little while, which is okay. It'll be a shiny new thing. People want to see it more on the channel. And I like shiny new things too,
Yeah. And okay, so let's talk about it, because you're not going to get rid of the FJ Cruiser, right? Okay.
Nope.
But let's talk about that a little bit, because you have probably the best, if not one of the best built FJ Cruisers for overlanding that I've seen.
Yeah, she's pretty pretty worked through.
Yeah. So tell us some highlights. Tell us like the top 3 upgrades that you've done to the FJ that you'd recommend somebody do for an overlanding style FJ Cruiser.
Well, especially if they're going to be as heavy as I am. In the early FJs, like the 2007 to 2009, they had a weak rear axle or weak rear differential. It was essentially the same diff that they'd put in the 80s Toyotas that had like a third of the horsepower. So that's something that broke a lot for a lot of people. And so I ended up upgrading the rear axle. I got away with it for a long time, but I knew that thing was going to blow up. So I put a 9.5 inch from the Land Cruiser 80 series into mine. Yeah. And that's a diamond axle, which that's a huge upgrade. I'm not saying it's necessary. It just depends on how crazy you are with your truck, but mine's really heavy. So it was going to blow up out in the middle of nowhere at some point. And so I had to deal with it. I would say for the FJ, the goose gear was a huge one. I had a DIY system in the back for a long time, and I finally got the goose gear, and they do a really good job with that. And aside from the screws loosening, I don't know if you're familiar with those. The screws are always loosening up. It's like I need to Loctite them. I've got screws missing everywhere.
They just back out automatically?
Yeah, they back out, and you got these floating T-nuts in the 80/20 stuff. And so basically I'm going to have to take a whole panel off before the season and take all those out, reline up my T-nuts, and then put them back in. No Loctite them this time, but they're always loose. That's one downside. But the goose gear is really nice because it gave me so much more room. And then aside from that, it's not really an FJ specific thing, but I would say my Alucab tent. I absolutely love the stuff that they make. Yeah, I would say the tent and awning combo. Just having, like you just said, you just got a new, like a Batwing, Foxwing awning, whatever people want to call them. But it is such a game changer. Having a spot that's covered from the rain to cook and hang out, and it's not even a problem when we camp with other people and they don't have something like that. It's miserable for them. But when you can walk around 2/3 or half your vehicle, 2/3, half your vehicle, and not get covered in rain. That's pretty nice.
It was a game changer. Like this last weekend, I went camping and was just trying to find some new campsites. New video coming out at 9:00 tonight, by the way. And it rained, and it was possibly going to snow, and I forgot the walls. So I've got even the walls for it, but I forgot the walls. So I'm glad it didn't snow, but it rained, and I was like, how have I lived my life? without, and I had an awning that just came straight out before,
Yep.
and
Good
it was
enough.
okay, but it was always a pain in the ass.
Yep.
You had to tie it down because the poles would fall over, and it just didn't feel great. And this is a freestanding,
Right.
mammoth of an awning. And same with the alley cab. Like I've got the quick pitch, which is basically kind of the same
Yeah.
same thing as far
They're
as
pretty
the
similar.
rooftop tent. So love that. Just two snap, pop those two little tabs and then push that sucker up and put my little, things to keep my awning, the little wind shade or whatever you want to call it, rain fly
Right.
out. And I'm ready to go sleep.
Yeah, it's so nice. It's such an underappreciated thing because I've got a friend actually in Arkansas that recently bought a rooftop tent that's the flip style.
Oh yeah,
And
I had
then
one.
yeah, he had it and I did too. I had a couple of them, and it becomes such a hassle that I was just like, I don't know if I actually want to stay out there. I might just drive home if I wasn't too far from home. As when you got two clamps and you just push it up, man, it just makes such a difference.
Yeah, it was always weird because I had a Gazelle. I still have it, my Gazelle tent that takes it takes me now like 40, 45 seconds to totally get it ready to go.
Yeah.
Without bringing the stuff inside of the
Right.
tent, which is the pain. But like with the traditional type of rooftop tent that opens up and you got to put the poles up and do all the things, it would take 7 minutes by myself to get that thing set up.
Yep. And then
I'm
take
by
down
myself the majority of the time. So I was like, this isn't worth it.
No, it's not. And they're cheaper, and I understand that it seems like more of a convenience for people, but I think especially if you're doing a lot of stuff by yourself, what I ran into is I was hunting at about 11,800 feet, and I was putting my tent away by myself, and that frost had developed that time of the year in September. And so I'm putting that thing up, and my foot kind of slipped, and I didn't fall off or anything, but I just realized like instantly, I was like, it would be so ezy to have something bad happen with this. And then I came home from that trip, and then got the tent finally in order. I was just like, man, I'm just gonna have to pony up and buy this thing.
Yeah, I had to buy a step stool because I was like climbing on the tire, and I was like, this could be a bad deal by myself somewhere.
Yeah.
So totally, yeah.
I recommend to people that are listening, they're looking at those types of tents, that maybe you find one on Facebook, because it's very likely that you either won't like it or you will end up wanting a hard shell. And if you're just convinced you're going to get something that you can afford for now, buy used. There's so many of them because people want to get rid of them.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, there's a reason. There's a reason you don't see too many new ones like that anymore. Like the iCamper I get, the iCamper would be the only difference. I
agree with that.
I wouldn't go backwards, but if I didn't want to have a wedge style like we have,
right,
I'd look at the iCamper.
Yep, me too.
Because I think that, and especially if you need to fit more people, because I think you can get the big one and you can sleep 3 or 4 people in it.
It's a big tent.
Yeah. And I don't need all the space. I don't really want a whole lot of people going with me.
Yeah, right.
So, especially don't want a lot of people up in my tent with me. So
yeah, definitely.
I'm cool. Yeah, I'm cool with it. Now you have done some crazy ass shit whenever you're out camping. Let's talk about the mine shaft that you guys.
Oh man, that was a good one. That was a pretty cool find, because we're several whiskeys in. And so, well, no, we weren't. I'm going to take that back, just because I was flying my drone. And so I was definitely not a few whiskeys.
Oh yeah.
That came later. But anyway, but I flew that thing up, and we're just looking around. I'm just trying to get some scenic, imagery for the video that's going to be coming. And then I see this mine shaft, and we've been looking for them for a week at that point. And I was like, no way. We are like a 5-10 minute walk away from this thing. So I was like, let's go look at this. And then I was just like, dude, this is it. We've been looking for this the whole time. It couldn't have worked out better.
And then you found an open one, and it was deep.
It was very deep. We went in probably, and I cut that video to where it was as entertaining as it could be of a bunch of guys walking through a dark hole. But anyway, I think we walked into it for probably 15, 20 minutes, and we're making a pretty good pace. And I don't know how many hundreds of feet deep that was, but that was a pretty cool find. That was pretty
So how
wild.
much hell did you catch when you got back home?
My friend Curtis, the bearded guy in that video, he was just like, I don't really want to say what he said. He knew what was coming for him. But I told my wife, Natalia, and I was just like, hey, I was like, you're going to be pissed off. I was like, I got to show you some video. And she's just like, what'd you do? And I was just like, we went like hundreds of feet into this mine shaft. And she was just like, I would have done the same shit. Okay. like right away. She was just like, no, cool. That's awesome. So anyway, I was not in the doghouse. I thought there was potential, but she handled it much better than I expected.
Yeah, it'd be my luck that this shaft had been here for 100 years, and then I crawl into it, and that's when it's going to collapse.
Yeah. And a few people were commenting on how we were whispering, but I mean, when you have a mountain on top of you that has been sitting there for so many years, it's
Yeah.
like I don't want any unusual vibrations inside
Yeah.
of this thing. Yeah, and I mean, we weren't terrified until my buddy went over that mound, and he went over into the other side of that, and he's like it's just piling after piling. He's like, I want to get out of here right now. It freaked him out. And I was like, okay, well, let's go. But yeah, that was a pretty cool trip.
Yeah, that was a pretty fun video to watch, and it really seemed like you guys had a lot of fun on that trip for sure.
Yeah, we try to get together every other year and do a trip like that. Those two guys I went to, they were 2 of the 25 people I graduated with in Missouri from high school, and so we've stayed good friends over the years. So we try to get together.
Gotcha. Yeah, I really love how you have a purpose sometimes whenever you go out on the trips. Like the trip that you went out where you weren't saying really a whole lot. You were like, I'm looking for, kind of this certain kind of animal, and we hope that we find it. And in back of my mind, I was like, salamanders. He's looking for salamanders. He's looking for salamanders. And you didn't find any, and you almost got killed because some guy was shooting a gun at you.
That was a wild one. Yeah.
Crazy. But talk to me a little bit about salamanders, because you obviously have a thing for salamanders.
Well, so I will say that the video where I went looking for something and the guy with the gun was out there, I was not actually looking for salamanders.
Were you not? I thought you were.
No. So there's actually people mad at me that I didn't say what I'm looking for, and I've still not said what I'm looking for.
Okay, yeah, keep it quiet.
But yeah, so it's on the endangered list, and I will find it in 2023.
Okay.
I think I'm gonna have to hike like 5 miles into this thing, but it's gonna be a cool video. But salamanders was the next one, and that was actually the same lake that I had been at where the guy was shooting off, and so I hadn't been there in years. But yeah, it's a lake at like 10,800, 11,000 feet or so, and the entire thing is just inhabited with salamanders. And so I grew up actually around frogs and reptiles, and I mean I've had hundreds of wild caught pets. But salamanders were never one that I really had much access to. Even though I lived in Missouri, I never knew where they were. And I think there's some in Missouri anyway. But yeah, so I found that thing, and it'd been years since I'd been up there. And so I was like, I'm going to go up there and I'm going to try to catch one of these things. I've been talking about it for years. It's such a pretty spot to go camping. And so I went up there, and, it was one of those things, you think they're trout swimming around in the water, but there's just these monstrous salamanders. And the tiger salamanders in particular are pretty unique just because of they can survive through just about anything. And so I'm just fascinated by that, because it's a prehistoric animal. They're like a snapping turtle. They've been around since the dawn of time, and they'll be here after we're gone. And so just seeing these little things, I think they're like kind of an unappreciated animal. They're just like, oh, it's a salamander. But it's like, no. That's not just a salamander. That's like this animal that can grow its arms back if it loses one, which is that is so rare in nature.
Yeah.
And so yeah, anyway, I did a little backstory in that video on the things, but I just think that they're an amazing organism. And those ones in particular, they have no predators, except for, I'm sure some of the birds pick them up every once in a while, but you're talking 12 to 14 inch, full larval stage salamanders up there. Yeah. Because they will, basically what happens is when they'll be like a tadpole, they've got the little gills that look like the predator. And then as soon as they start getting a little bit older, they'll lose the gills and they'll start growing into like a salamander, like most people know them as. Well, if they don't have a predator, there's no real reason to leave the water. So like half of them, or however many, will just stay in that larval stage. And so you get these ones that have gills that are like 4 inches long. And so they're in the water and they got this huge, cool, it just looks like a sci-fi character. I don't know. It's pretty neat to see. But yeah, people go up there and they try to fish and stuff, and there's no fish in that water. But it's
so Okie Rover saying I've only seen one salamander in the wild in all my years. And we were talking just before we jumped on here, and my grandmother's basement in Piedmont, Oklahoma, which was always wet, had a couple salamanders. And that's really, I mean, I'm sure I've seen them other times than that, but that's the only time that sticks in my head.
Right.
As far as actually seeing some that were, not in a cage or a tank or something.
So was it a damp basement?
Oh yeah. There was always, I mean, most of the time there was at least an inch of water, at least.
Oh yeah. It's perfect for them. It's a cave.
Oh yeah. Cold, like all the things. Now, one of the things that we used to always find were horny toads.
Oh man, I used to have one as a pet. I love that thing
They're
so
so
much. They're
cool.
so cool.
Yeah,
So cool.
well, you don't see those very much
I can't
anymore
find
either.
them. I'm actually going to do I don't know if I'm specifically going for those, but I am going to go out for a lizard this year. It's a North American iguana, and I'm going
Okay.
to go try to find one of those this year. And I don't know when I'm going to do the video on it, but it's called a chuckwalla, and so
Huh.
it's this lizard in Utah and Arizona that it'll pry itself in between rocks, and it'll go. And it inflates its belly, and so it'll lodge itself in a rock, and they're huge lizards. Anyway,
Huh.
sorry, I'm excited about that one
No,
too.
you're cool. No, that's we geek out about stuff all the time. So
Yeah.
so right there with you. Yeah, the horny toads. I saw one. God, I'm 46, and whenever I was in my early 30s, I saw one, and that's the last time I've seen one.
They're so cool.
And it was hanging out by an anthill, which they eat ants, so it kind
Yeah.
of makes sense. But yeah, they're super super cool. Um, but yeah, so what are some of the actually we haven't even talked. Where are you from? Where are you living?
So I'm actually in Colorado. I'm in the Glenwood Springs area, Roaring Fork Valley. It's kind of I live in between Glenwood Springs and Aspen for anybody that's ever been in this area before. And so we're near up in Aspen is Independence Pass, and that's what I named the channel after it,
Very
just
nice.
because it's this beautiful pass that you can drive in any vehicle. It's terrifying for some people. It's just another mountain road for everybody that lives here. But get
So
people
so
from.
you're one of those that I consider a cheater because you live
Oh
in a
yeah,
beautiful area.
yeah,
Being in the middle of Oklahoma, like I've got to drive at least 4 hours usually
yeah.
to get to, Arkansas is a place that we go to a lot, northwest part of Arkansas.
Right.
And yeah, it's 4 hours to get there. And so super jealous.
Well, and so the thing is even though we're right here, there's plenty of stuff that I can get to that's easy, but because of the mountain roads, like there's beautiful stuff everywhere. Don't get me wrong, but usually we are driving about the same distance, like to Utah, which I mean, I guess it's kind of a bragging, right? But to get to Moab, it's about 3 hours. So we're normally doing 3 to 4 hours as well. But
yeah, we're doing 12 to 16.
Oh man. That's a haul.
And it was funny. I was talking to Lee about it, and I was complaining about the fact that we'll watch Venture to Rome or something like that, and like, man, it's just right outside of his backyard.
Yep.
And then he's still talking about driving 3 hours to get somewhere. I was like, well, maybe it's not so bad.
Yeah. Venture
because
to Rome, man.
you're right. If it's right outside your door, it's stuff that you're used to and you see all the time. So you just want to go further and you want to go check out other things. And like you're saying, sometimes it just takes a long time to get to a place.
Yeah, because there's access to spots. I'm working on a video right now where it's only 45 minutes. I'd never been up to this area really. It's like a 45-minute to an hour drive to get off the highway from me, but then it was like 4 hours from there to really get to where we were camping, just because you're on winding switchback roads going up into the mountains and stuff. And a lot of it is just getting up above, or not necessarily above tree line, but some of it was. But that's just the way the mountains are, is you got to do a lot of back and forth stuff. And as the crow flies, it might be 50 miles away, but it ends up taking hours and hours to get there.
Gotcha.
But
now food's a big thing for us overlanding.
Yes, sir.
Kind of people, camping people. But you actually go and forage, and you'll go find mushrooms. How did you get into and get comfortable enough to go and forage mushrooms?
I was thinking about that when I was editing that video. I was like, with this, and that's why I kind of put a few disclaimers in there. Take a book with you, because it is one of those things. And there's a lot of different mushrooms out there. But elk hunting, I go bow hunting, and some of the guys that have lived here their whole lives, I've gone with them, and they just stopped one day, and this has been probably 8 years ago now, but they just stopped in the middle of the forest, and he's like, I'm going to pick these up, or we're going to pick these up. And then we found some more, and he's like, don't get those later. I've got those marked in my GPS. Those are mine. And he's like kind of claiming these spots. And I'm just like, okay. So slowly I'd hang out with this guy, and I'd learn this is what they look like. This is what they look like. And then once you get comfortable with the chanterelle mushroom, they're unmistakable. But then I slowly started getting more and more into it, as far as, because you just, Colorado is like a desert, and a lot of people don't realize that it's like a high desert, especially in the areas that I live in. But when you go up into some of the deep forests here, it turns into something that reminds you of Arkansas. And it's really, I only really see it whenever I'm hiking, but you'll find these lush spots where streams are just coming out of the rock side. And so Anyway, you'll find these places that are just like, it's like a little fairyland. It's like Washington almost, I guess. And there's just mushrooms growing everywhere. So I started paying attention more and more to the different types of mushrooms. And then I started to get more and more comfortable foraging. And then, so now I bring tens of pounds of those things back every year. They're so no mushrooms,
Yeah.
but yeah, I do enjoy doing that. And it makes me, it's just like hunting, without getting too far into what people think about that. You just have a new appreciation for what you have rather than just opening the fridge and something goes bad. When you collect it yourself, it's like, I'm not letting that go bad. And every time you eat it, there's just a different thing there. It's just like, I was there for this whole thing, whether it was foraging, fishing, hunting. And so I have much more of an appreciation for everything I'm eating whenever I have collected it myself.
Yeah, for me in the last few years, I've just gotten into, I said last probably 5 years, I've gotten into mushrooms, like eating them. I haven't gone and searched and looked for them. I just buy them at the store.
Yeah.
But, watching you go and do it, it's kind of made me want to learn.
Yeah.
Not go out and just go immediately and do it, because I'm either going to be tripping my balls off or I'm going to die.
Yeah, for sure.
One of the two. So, but yeah, I think I'm going to start kind of learning. And, whenever you were doing that foraging video, one of them, and you were talking about the chanterelle mushrooms, that the gills go all the way, or the little, you call them gills?
Yep.
Go all the way down.
Right.
Because then you showed us one that didn't, and you're like, I'm not messing with this one. I'm waiting until I get the right one. So you had good information there. So I appreciate that. But like when you cook, do you always plan on just going all out and having, a big meal that you cook, or do you like me? I mean, I'll do SpaghettiOs with meatballs every once in a while.
Right. Yeah. So I'm not picky. And I try not to I do food stuff in my videos just because I think it's one of those topics that I think a lot of people that are getting into this are kind of interested in. There's some channels like Lifestyle Overland. Those guys do like amazing cooking, and then Marco and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I'm not really that good of a chef. My wife jokes about it because she's like, you're a good chef when you go camping. But I have a theory on that everything just tastes better when you're camping. And it really, for whatever reason it does, beer tastes better, food tastes better. And so I'm like, no, it's all a big trick. I'm not actually a good cook. It's just, it's all you have. And so, but I always take backup meals. So I always have, or almost always have, half of my refrigerator set up as a freezer. And so I will take, I'll take some like frozen meatballs or something like that. And so a lot of times I'll make like a real style ramen, not like a top ramen, but I'll do up like a full ramen with mixed vegetables and stuff like that. But I consider that somewhat of an easy meal. She will cook pre-made burritos sometimes for like the Overland Expos. And then we'll do this on certain trips too, where she'll make burritos and she'll put them in like those little tiny aluminum pans. And then we'll put a top on them, and then we use our Coleman oven and we just bake it. So then it's just like get to camp, set up the thing, and just bake your dinner for 45 minutes and you're done. And so we do some of that too. But I would say the least amount of work I do, I use these things called oh man, I'm gonna forget the name, of course. Good Belly meals, I think is what they're called. Green Belly meals. It's like a giant granola bar that has like 700 calories, and you got to drink a bunch of water with it. It's kind of like a giant Cliff Bar, but I use those for hunting, and then you don't have to do anything. And so the nights that I get late, she won't accept that. No way in hell she can eat something like that. But I'm not picky about food or anything. So,
it's funny. Whenever I go on a trip, I find that I eat less than if I'm sitting at home. So there's times that I forget about eating lunch. Like I'll be so wrapped up in what I'm doing, or looking out the window, or getting out and exploring around that a granola bar does me great for lunch a lot of times. But we usually have a breakfast, and we usually have a dinner. So and I normally in my day to day, I normally don't eat breakfast. So I think that's kind of what saves me on the lunch side of it. But yeah, when it comes to dinner, I always have. Well, usually I have Lee with me, and he's kind of like my bitch. So he cooks for me and does everything for me. So in fact, he was giving me grief whenever I ate SpaghettiOs in one of my videos. He was like, dude, I'm embarrassed. Like, I can't believe you did that. It's like, well, I don't care, and in my dry box, I always have like some canned things like SpaghettiOs, raviolis, and chicken noodle soup. Just in case, my thought is just in case my cooler or my fridge, whatever I got going on, messes up, or if something leaks and everything's nasty, at least I've got something.
Yeah.
That I can, or if I have to hand somebody food, and I didn't prepare enough food for them necessarily, and something happened with theirs, I've got food I can hand out. So I always have that extra little bit with me.
Yeah, I think that's smart. And I guess I should say I do canned chili every once in a while, and I'll do like chili dogs or something like that, which is I guess that's probably one of my easier meals for sure. But I think anybody should do that, just because say you break down, if you're going to Utah for your first time, you don't understand how vast it is.
An extra day or
you
two.
break down. Yeah. Just having that extra food, extra water is a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah. I usually always also have about 6 to 8 packets of oatmeal.
Yep.
And I never eat oatmeal when I'm on the trip, but I've got it there just in case something happens.
Right.
Because it's light and it's easy. And see, giving me grief. He pokes his head out for sure.
Yeah, he's over here BSing about I like to skip meals. I've camped with this guy. He don't skip any meals. He's full of crap.
Dude, there's many times I don't eat lunch. We don't eat lunch.
Listen, if there's food,
if the food's there, I'll eat it.
So you could go camping with Michael, and if there's 10 people camping, Michael.
I don't know why I need to bring food if there's 10 people camping. Everybody cooks too much.
I know, he surfs the campground, so he just browses through. Hey, what you got? Oh, that looks good. Next thing you know, he's eating it. Then he moves to the next one. Then he moves to the next one, and then the next one. And by the time he gets back around there, he goes, "Dude, I'm miserable. I'm so full. I don't know what to do."
That's what I was gonna say. That's the best way to do it. Then you don't have to cook anything.
Yeah, yeah.
Because you don't hang around long enough,
right?
Yeah,
you're off to the next group of people.
Yeah.
I've joked about, and I'm seriously going to do it. We do.
Oh, we lost him.
Oh,
where'd you go?
He's back.
He's trying to be a jerk. We do Rendezvous in the Ozarks, which is a big event once a year that they do here. And I've always joked that I'm not going to bring food at all. Because one year we had a lady give us like 2 pounds of chili because she made too much. And she was like, I made too much and I'm just not going to be able. Will you guys eat this? And there's like 4 or 5 of us. We're like, yeah, we'll eat that. And so, yeah, there's no reason to have to bring food when you go to those kind of expos or rallies or stuff like that, because there's way too much food being cooked.
Sounds pretty nice.
And if I know Marco's going to be there, then I just go find Marco.
Yeah.
Marco, I need some food. It's like, oh, come on over.
So I saw you're going to be a storyteller at the Moore Expo.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
Are you going?
I'm thinking about going through Arkansas around that time. Actually, I've got a buddy that lives out there, and then I've got my parents still live in Missouri. And I've got friends that live in Springfield. It's funny because where the Moore Expo is, I used to live on that street about a mile and a half down the road.
Oh, really?
And back then when I had the FJ with all the like an axe and a shovel on the roof rack and stuff, people were just like, "What is this idiot doing?" Like it was back before this is such a big thing. And it's funny that it's right down the road at the fair.
Well, right on. Now. We need to talk because I'm taking off that whole week. I'm
gonna really?
Leave that Friday before the Moore Expo, and I'm going to take off that whole week because it starts on Thursday, and just camp around.
Okay, cool.
So yeah, let me know, and we'll figure something out.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to. I reached out to them to see about being a storyteller, and I might be a little late to the show, but as far as like
I'll
applying,
give Chris a call.
All right, yeah, please do. Yeah, I'd love to come down because, like I said, I need to go see my parents and stuff. My good friend lives in the area, and so we're gonna go. The plan is to go down that weekend anyway, and then hang out for a couple days, and then and then make my way to Arkansas and go do some adventuring down there because Arkansas is incredible. Like, I mean,
yeah.
I know for you guys, like Colorado and Utah, and I mean, it's amazing. I get to do it all the time. But when you get into Arkansas and you get to drive through some of the water crossings and stuff, and it's just, and I grew up in that area kind of, so it's familiar to me, and there's just a certain feeling in the air. And so I really did enjoy the last time I went down there.
The thing that we don't have when we go to Arkansas, like you have in Colorado and stuff, are just some of the mountain peaks and, some of that stuff. I mean, you're still going up and down, and the water crossings are amazing, and I hear people that get so jealous that, we'll go on a trip that'll have 20 water crossings.
Yeah.
And they're like, are you kidding me? I had one, and they get so bad or something, and it was dry. So then they get really pissed. But yeah, it's tight. And there's some fun things like Bub's Place, which is this old man that has
I've seen
this
photos
old
of that.
building that's just pristine the way it should be, the way it was in 1800s or some craziness.
That's amazing.
Yeah, pretty awesome. He's usually out there pushing a push mower.
Really?
Yeah.
Good for him.
Yeah. So you'll sit and talk to him for a while, and it's a good time. I really enjoy it. And some of the best pies that you had
Really?
around that area.
Sounds pretty good.
So good. So
Sounds good to me.
Right on, right on. We're also going to have, we'll have a booth for our Overland Radio
Okay, cool.
stuff there where we interview people and stuff like that. So yeah, it'd be a good time. You need to, I'll give Chris a shout out and say, hey, look,
please do.
There's this dude I know that it'd probably be good to have him come.
I'll be there.
Well, right on, right on. Well, cool. So now we talked about a new rig for you, but I have to ask this question because I'll play the lottery every once in a while and I'll start dreaming. What would be, money's no object, what is your dream vehicle?
70 series Land Cruiser for sure.
70 series Land Cruiser.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are just because everything that's done on the Land Cruiser, the foreign Land Cruisers, and of course this would be a diesel with like for the guys that might be Toyota people. I know you said a lot of your followers here aren't necessarily Toyota people.
Oh no, they are. Lee and I just dog them.
There's the 1HDT turbocharged diesel. They're not a powerful engine, but they're just reliable. They're designed to be rebuilt. And I used to rebuild engines actually when I lived in Springfield, and so rebuilding the diesels I just got, and now I'm a diesel mechanic for a living, so I'm just familiar with them. I wouldn't want to own a modern diesel myself just because of all the I got to deal with it all the time. These DPF issues. Yeah, and then we can't delete all that stuff. But anyway, the Land Cruiser, solid front axle. And I don't know if I would go with the 79, which is like the truck bed, the truck style, or if I would do the troop carriers. I do know the troop carriers it's a van, it's a 4-wheel drive van, and I am very much attracted to that whole concept. And being able to close it down and jump in the driver's seat if you needed to is a huge one in case you ever did get into any situation. But I don't know, I'll get a used one. We want to go to Africa and go rent a vehicle for a couple weeks, and that'll be a Land Cruiser, and so that'll be like I'll finally get to fulfill that. I'm sure I'm just going to come back and be like, I have to have one, but anyway, I don't want to buy a 25-year-old vehicle.
One of my vehicle that I would buy, that I would get, and it'd be new. I would go and get a brand new JL diesel. I wouldn't get the Gladiator, because I would get the American Safari XL extension.
I've seen those. Those are pretty cool
with the top, because then I think you've got a modern day American. You could buy it brand new version of what a 79 series would be, a 70 series.
Yeah, it's pretty close.
Solid axles, you can go anywhere, and you would have the room. And we got to hang out with Lee, who was it that we got to hang out with? You're listening, that we talked to, the family.
The Epic Family Adventures.
Yes,
Epic Family Road Trip.
And they had just had those installed whenever we saw them, and
I saw that video.
This is amazing.
What a cool family. What a cool way to raise your children.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Shout out to that family just for I don't know. That's incredible. That's just so incredible.
Yeah. It's pretty amazing. So yeah, for me, and I've gone back and forth because I love the troop carrier, like you're talking about.
Right.
But yeah, I think I would do the Jeep. The only reason why I would do the Jeep over the troop carrier is because I just don't know how I feel about the narrow rear axle.
Yep. It's a problem.
Because it's just gonna try to find that rut, that groove. It just feels like it'd be
supposed to be quite an issue for a lot of people. I'm sure Ozark Overland Outfitters. Is that where you bought your quick pitch stuff from?
No, I got mine from Hein. So I got mine from South African dude.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, he's a buddy of mine. He's the guy that works for him for the United States kind of market. So
okay.
But I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, he's importing a Troopy right now. He's had one rebuilt in Dubai, and it's getting sent over, I think, right now. So he's gonna have some of those issues. He's plenty versed in Land Cruisers. I'm sure he'll be able to deal with it, but that is a known issue. I think
at the Moore Expo last year, he had a black one.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what he had sitting there. Now that I'm thinking about it. I'm damn sure. I'm pretty sure that's what. Anyway, yeah, he knows his Toyota shit.
Yes, he does.
Him and his dad are like amazing when
diehard.
it comes to talking to him about Toyota stuff. So, but yeah, so what trips do you have coming up?
So I would think that the first one will probably be to Arkansas. I'm sure I'll get in something as soon as it starts warming up here just a little bit. I'll head down to the desert. I kind of want to go back to the sand dunes because even though I've been there a million times, I don't think I've done a proper video on it. It's not really, I wouldn't consider it an overland trip, but just going and just driving on the sand dunes is so much fun. And so I might go down and do that here in probably 2.5 months or so. And then aside from that, I don't know if I'm going to go do another snow camping trip or not. This time of the year, I try to get caught up on video editing because, as you can see, my videos are way behind because I work like 55 hours a week and I edit for like 20, 25 hours a week. And so I try to take advantage of the weekends in the down season and then I can just hit it hard and do what I do. But yeah, so I think I'm going to have another 2 months or so before I actually get out and do another full on trip.
Gotcha.
So it'll probably be more expo. And we'll go down through Arkansas. And then we're talking about going to the Smoky Mountains this year, I think is part of the plan. But aside from that, we don't really have much planned. We're going to go to Baja again this year, but we decided to push that off one more season. So because, yeah, anyway, that'll be 2024. So that'll probably be the new truck. But yeah, I don't know. I've got a lot of trips to plan. And with all my editing and video work now, I used to be such an organized person that never forgot anything, and I've got basically 2 jobs now, and so now I am very forgetful and I'm very terrible at planning this stuff out ahead of time like I should, and so I'm trying to get that under control.
Dude, my trip last weekend, I forgot so many things.
Did you?
I was so mad. I forgot my skillet.
Oh no.
I was like, this sucks. So, I'm just using this little Ozark Trail kind of like put together thing that just happens to be in my camping cooking box. Luckily that was in there because I'd have been screwed if not. But yeah, I usually forget a pillow. Like that's usually the thing I forget. So now I've got just a travel pillow that stays up in the quick pitch.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm always forgetting something. But I probably should take some editing lessons because from this weekend, I've already got my video ready. Like it's going up 9:00 tonight.
Oh, man, I wish I could do that.
And I mean, I'll just sit here and I'll just feed it together and just do a little dissolve in between the edits and that's it. And then I'm done.
Dang, man, I wish, like I've reached out. I've tried hiring different editors in the past, and I'm trying a new one right now, and it's not a full on. They won't edit everything for me because with voiceover work that doesn't really work. But as much I love editing, like that's the part that I probably enjoy the most, but it's just my time. So I'm hiring actually people to just go through and cut the footage and cut all the useless footage out for me, just so I'm that much closer. Because man, on every video, I'll spend 20 to 25 hours per video at least. And I go through and rewatch it and I'll be like, no, that song doesn't sound right. And then my wife is a good storyteller. So I have her watch it and she'll be like, no, this doesn't line up, or that song is portraying too much, like it's too sad. And so like they're giving the wrong message here. And she knows what she's talking about. So I'll be like, all right, so I'll re-edit. And some of the things are like timed to that song. So I had to go back but that's just I enjoy that part of it. So it takes a lot of time. And someday I hope to have more time than I do now. And my videos be out within like a month rather than 6 months later after I filmed them. But
I think my thing is doing this live show and stuff that it's all just one take, so I'll just shoot something. I'll just grab the camera and go, hey, we're over at the thing and we're doing the thing and I'll be like, okay, that works. And then I'll just walk away from it. And so whenever I get back, like this last trip, I had more videos, single little videos than I've ever had. And it was only 60. How many videos when you come back? How many different segmented videos do you have when you start the editing process from one trip?
Oh man, I don't know. Oh, I use a GoPro, a DJI Pocket 2, sometimes phone stuff. I have separate audio files, or I guess we won't even count those, but because I do record a lot of my own sound effects just in case there's an issue, or for drone footage, I put the sound of an FJ Cruiser. I went out and recorded. I put it upside down in my my Trasharoo, and I just drove and got a bunch of noises because whenever you're filming drone, there's no audio recorded.
Yeah.
So I'll put that over just so there's like that much more of a connection to what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
And so
It
anyway,
tricks your mind. Your mind doesn't really think about it.
The sound's more important. And that's what a lot of the classes will teach you is like audio is more important to people than video is. If you have bad audio, somebody will click off of it way sooner than they would with bad video.
Yeah.
So the audio is super important. So anyway, I would say like any given trip, the one I'm editing right now from the flat tops of Colorado is going to be such a cool video. I'm very excited about it. But I would say, I mean, there's hundreds of clips there. It's like a 350 gigs of raw files.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a lot, man. I had to buy a new computer. I bought one of these Mac Studios just to keep up with it. I was trying on my old MacBook, and that thing was about to catch on fire. I was putting so much through it.
Yeah, but, mine struggles with just the small amount I get through, doing mine. So yeah, I had 60 videos, and I think the longest video is maybe 2 minutes long.
Yeah, and I mean that's about right. A lot of mine, I will say, are only like if I'm getting B-roll, I only do those 8 to 12 second shots to where I can kind of trim them up, and they're just for that. But my big problem is I can't speak in a straight sentence. Like I don't know if I have ADHD or ADD, but that's why when people watch my videos, there's a lot of jump cuts. Like if I'm in the shop, there's jump cuts everywhere because I edit this stuff and I'm listening to myself speak, and I'm like, I'll get to a point and then I veer off and then I never get back to the point. I'm just like, dude, like I get so distracted. And so anyway, that's why my jump cuts. So like you're saying, just talk to the camera, call it good. I can't do that, man. I have to do like multiple takes for a lot of this stuff because it's just like otherwise I don't get to the point. I just have to.
I talk so fast sometimes, like with no real pause in it. Mm-hmm. So there's no real editing process for it because I don't have like there's no like it's in between a word and I can't just let it roll. Just let it go.
Man, I watch some of these channels that have that and I'm so jealous that they can put stuff out like that. Like Brad Trail Recon. He is such a good, like he has a point, he talks about it, and that's that. And I can't. I just don't work like that.
Do you script stuff?
No, I don't. I'm really bad about that too.
Me neither.
The thing is I know I usually like I don't talk about things unless I know what I'm talking about. And so I feel like that if I'm just reading off of a script, maybe it'd be easier for editing. But I just don't want to go down that road of like, so today we are talking about, sitting there reading through a prompter kind of thing. I would just rather speak about it and just deal with the editing later and actually people get a sense of like my personality, I guess, a little bit more. So anyway, that's
I was talking to somebody about because I do the podcast also, and I was talking to somebody about it, and they were like, "Well, how long does it take you to edit?" And I was like, "I hit record, I record what I'm doing, and I hit stop. That's about as far as editing as I do." And they're like, "Are you kidding me?" And
that's like, nice.
No, I just blab into whatever I'm doing, and every once in a while, like whenever I start, it's usually the hardest part is starting. Within the first 30 seconds, I might repeat over and over again a couple times,
right?
But once I'm going, it's what's happening. I saw you just grab something.
I did.
We haven't done our mandatory whiskey shots yet, so we probably should get that taken care of.
All right, let's do it.
What are you drinking?
I've got some. It's called 291 small batch Colorado bourbon. This is nice. one of the ones of many that I've got up on the shelf in there. My wife bought me this for my birthday recently. Pretty good bottle.
Very good.
I'm a big whiskey guy.
We're a big oil fire whiskey fan. So if we get to hang out at More Expo,
yes, sir.
I'll show you that. It's
amazing. All right, I'm into it.
We get a lot of people turned on to it because it's a whiskey with a liqueur blend. I like an old fashioned. And this is and now they kind of make some pre-made old fashions, but this was at the time the closest thing that I found to just having like an old fashioned on the trail with just pouring it from the bottle.
Oh, that's nice.
So yeah, it works out. All right. Cheers.
Cheers.
Right on. I'm surprised the chat didn't go crazy with, why are we drinking whiskey? What's going on? So, which means they're actually listening to what we're saying. So
I've been drinking whiskey the whole time. Maybe they picked up on that.
Yeah, me too. Me too. That's what we do. Well, hey man, that's an hour.
Wow.
And it goes by really fast. So with the good part about that is that there's a lot more that we need to talk about. Definitely. So we'll have to have you come back on another time. Tell everybody out there listening how they can find your channel and where all social medias you're at.
Okay, so I'm on Instagram as Independence Overland. I am on YouTube as Independence Overland, and I don't do. Hey Jeff, I just saw Jeff is on here. He's one of my guys. I don't do Facebook as of yet. I can't take on too much more, and I also, of course, got to mention my Patreon because that's technically in the social media space.
Yes.
I do have a Patreon for some of my biggest supporters. I appreciate everybody. I appreciate everybody regardless, but my patrons, man, I love that so much. It's amazing. It's an amazing world we live in, to where we can make this kind of stuff and we get the support we do. I know you feel the same way.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Instagram and YouTube are my primary chat channels. And so Independence Overland, come check it out. I put a lot of effort into these videos. And yeah, if you guys want to come check them out, I'd really appreciate it.
Right on. I've started getting into the Patreon. I've had one for a long time, but I hadn't really told many people about it. And so just doing the last couple months or so, 2 months or so, I've been kind of mentioning it. And it feels weird, like at first. I'm getting to where I'm a little more comfortable about it because it's like, hey, look, I want to continue doing this. And I see it as just a big tip jar.
Yeah.
Like if you like what we're doing, and you want to help us out, great. If not, you're still going to get to see the videos we put out and stuff like that. So it's just, if you want to.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing that we can put out free content in today's world and you still have people that are like, this is valuable enough to me that I'm going to give you something anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Like it means a lot. It's crazy. And I mean, I'm not doing this for money. I would love to do it full time. So it's kind of counterintuitive, but I would love to do it full time at some point. But it's also like I'm not doing it just exclusively for money. But it's amazing that people are willing to support creators.
Well, I think you're kind of like me. Like, yes, I would love to do this full time. Would love to be paid to do this full time. But I'm going to do it if no one pays me any money or not.
Yep.
Like I'm still doing it. I remember I recently got my first Patreon member pledge person, and dude, like the goosebumps and the freak out that I had, and then the like,
it's wild, man.
Am I really worthy enough to have somebody like,
imposter syndrome
do this whole thing? Yeah. So it's pretty cool. So awesome. Well, hey, I really, really appreciate you coming on.
Likewise, man. Thanks for having me on.
Awesome. Stick around for a minute. We're going to wrap the show up. Hey, everybody out there. Thank you, Lee, for pushing all the buttons and doing everything that you do. Everybody out there, we really, really appreciate you. You're in the chat. You're always here. And whatever you do, make sure that you go all over.